I
don't need to say the title. If you know, you know. Katamari Damacy came from an age where weird niche Japanese games lived in harmony with bigger releases. Namco could release this cult franchise and its 8 sequels. Yes, 8. How did Katamari, a game where you snowball up everything from a plant pot, piano, and pedestrian into your sticky ball, roll this far, on the cusp of an HD re-release? Well, dear viewers, among other things, it's all about the rhythm of the beat. The game's soundtrack stands as its legacy. As copies became rarer, the OST only rose further into the heavens of the YouTube recommendation machine. It was cute, catchy fun, a great reflection of the ethos of the game director, Takahashi, a man from outside the world of games who left university a sculptor, to then become a game director at Namco, seeing it as a unique opportunity to create for a mass audience, to make something different. Katamari is a reflection to his prior work, from his SuperFlat pottery that mixed humour with formal purpose. Takahashi has carved his own niche. His artistic outlook is what gave him the opportunity to direct the game in the first place, as a novice to the industry, a rare feat. To Takahashi, removing the clutter of the interaction and the interface meant you could make a truer human experience. In this case, that would focus on novelty, ease of understanding, enjoyment, and humour, which all came together with the development team, who, while small and not the most experienced, were still able to deliver Keita's gaming philosophy, including one member in particular, Yu Miyake, an in-house musician at Namco, as well as a sound director on the project, who built most of the music in the world of Katamari. Miyake wasn't tied down with the project, like other big Namco releases, where there'd be set rules to follow. He was free to experiment, secure in the vision of Takahashi, who he saw eye to eye with. For Katamari, Miyake said his work was a direct response to that vision. However, I believe there's more to it than just that. If we dig deeper, you can see Katamari's musical style derives from a richer tapestry. The game picks from all over the place, from its visuals to its soundtrack, tying it all together with an absurd style, like the cherry on top, reminding me of a 90s musical genre from the shores of Japan, within the indie-originated underground, Shibuya-kei. It has its roots in anywhere from punk, new wave to bossa nova, and who could forget city pop, the genre that it mutated from. It was a music made by record nerds for record nerds. In the late 90s, mainstream Japanese pop was at its pinnacle of its commercial might, so taking risks was worth it. Moreover, Shibuya-kei was a product of record curators who had a lot of clout at the time and gave the movement a big push. Not dissimilar to Katamari, the genre got way bigger than anyone expected, growing in all directions. Some might call Damacy part of the genre. They wouldn't be wrong, but there is one band in particular that Katamari shares even more with. But we need to go back. YMO, Yellow Magic Orchestra, one of the biggest bands to come out of Japan ever. They were groundbreaking, influencing much of the early video game landscape. Listening to this in mind, the sensibilities of YMO, from their upbeat personality, humour, and use of old school style synth melodies, are all seen in Katamari. Miyake talks specifically about their first couple of albums impacting him as a child. Now, Yellow Magic Orchestra, self-titled, was and still is a banger. Yet, what put you on the path to video games happened to be one of the band members' solo material, Hosono's Video Game Music, a tape that a young Yu would wear to the bone. He'd later work at the very company that was mentioned on that cassette tape, Namco, starting his career mastering arcade machines. The limitations of these early machines meant they could only use a few channels of sound at once. The people making the soundtracks were as much composers as the programmers on a shoestring budget, who needed to get by on a lot less, so they simplified the rhythm. The challenge became, how do you attract an audience away from other machines, with the caveat the audience was going to listen to these loops a nauseating amount of times, so they better be great. The limitations actually helped these games more than they hindered them. In Yu's mind, video game music had gotten stale the more it gained. And there's one particular study that backed him up. A study on repetition by Elizabeth Margolis. In short, it talks about the source of enjoyment in music coming from repeating elements. The more stuck in your head it becomes, the more time it has to grow on you. On a general level, finding those repeating elements attracts us to music, like a roller coaster when you know where and when all the drops and loops are coming. Sideways did a in-depth look at the study over here. So check it out, I guess. It so happens Damashi's music loops seamlessly with old school simplicity. You're going to hear these songs a lot. This game was made with arcade scoring in mind. You'll go from, that's a weird song, but after the third or fourth listen, you'll be singing it on the commute to work if you like it or not. So while the soundtrack was a return to classic video game approaches, you still wanted to bring a punk ethos to the game, to do something different with it. An idea appeared, a tune expressed by humming. Singing was going to be the key. Miyake believed vocal musical scores had never been done well in video games, so he decided to use them for every track of Damacy. To accomplish this, he used artists that hadn't been in the spotlight for years in Japan, so they'd still be recognizable to that Japanese audience, bringing them from all backgrounds to give those genres an authenticity they wouldn't have otherwise. An earnestness. The composer drew from outside the trenches of modern video game trends to give us an OST that understood the timeless qualities that made video game music in the first place, being both classic and unique to the genre. The main theme defines this experience in a heartbeat. It's a joke that such a large orchestra would be used for such silly, nonsensical lyrics and chorus, repeating the title again and again. What do the lyrics mean? Nobody knows. With these royal trumpets, contrasted with a drum machine tapping out a breakbeat, it's like old and new coming together. But under all that grandness, we have a synth with this silky bass line that pushes the groove into good places, danceable places. It all comes together with this ludicrous imagery. To stop you in your tracks, you'll say, this is weird, this is intergalactic, this is Katamari Damacy. They knew this too because this melody is then used throughout the game as a leitmotif. So even when the soundtrack is spinning off into orbit, it feels connected. As great as the title theme is, and even the OST, a game is not like a CD or a film. The music is a living performance, and you, the player, are the conductor. No one can make you move that controller. The audio and visual is coming together to make an experience beyond the sum of its parts. Thus, sound effects are part of that experience. Feedback is a big deal. If it's the king speaking in DJ scratches, the springy noises of picking up items off the floor, the alarms you get for approaching something too big to pick up. While these are simple techniques, they help create satisfying responses to the world in such a way it wouldn't be impossible to play the game blind. Well, I mean, like the first level maybe. It's pretty tough later, and someone who's good at the game could. Even when you remove the visuals, you can still hear unique sounds for each item, like the people who screech and shout, or the officers who fire their guns. And in that moment, it reflects the outward kawaii aesthetic with the horrifying truth underneath. For them, this is a colourful, catchy Judgment Day. But for you, it's just Tuesday. This duality is the heart of the game, and the sound design understands this. The victory screen song is one of the most satisfying experiences after an intense, hectic level. Just give me a minute for a second. Yeah, okay, there we go, I need that. Yeah. It's only made more satisfying after dealing with the torment of the sirens. With their similarity to Sonic 2's water timer, it ramps up the tension, hitting that target a needle length away from the counter. Ah, shit! So close. Alright, I'll have to try that again. Failure leads to an absence of music, only ambience and rain. The king talks down to you. It's unsettling. Miles away from some of the biggest tracks in the game, such as Lonely Rolling Star. An instant tune with a sweet vocal chorus, alongside a splash of melancholy coming from its story of two lovers, one having to go off and leave because of how passionate they are about rolling stuff up with their sticky little ball, with the other lover left behind in woe. But they know one day they will roll back to them. What sells the story is that sad synth lead that's left after the chorus to make you reflect on this. It may even have something to do with the level, because it's possibly the last part of the game where you spend within the house, within that comfortable location you spent so many levels getting used to, and now you're going out into the wider world of Katamari. I mean, it's simple and short in such a deadly manner that it makes your life a living hell if you got stuck in that level. It never ends. It never ends. The song will never leave you. What about something like Angel Gifts, which is this chaotic, intense, anxiety-inducing piece with layers of fuzz and distortion? You could call it shoegaze in its execution. It's a far cry from anything else in the soundtrack. It's definitely the most intense song and one of the larger and more difficult levels. But once you leave that level, it's followed by the most serene song in the game, almost like a payoff. Roll me in. Calm, soothing, and easygoing. What about a track like Katamari Roll, where they have the talents of Charlie Kosei of Lupin III fame to bring this jazzy, smooth, victorious ballad in English of all things? We're lounging away on the home stretch, one level away from the moon. What once was an overcoming challenge for our small prince is now in his grasp. Katamari Roll is a highlight, showing how songs can be used as thematic to the player's experience. Seen again in the final stage, where it all comes full circle. Like poetry, it rhymes. The OG theme and outro variation are used to tie everything back together again. What a victorious end it is. The music's diversity, all tying it back together. It's not dissimilar to Damashi's playing style. The OST does a great job of being accessible for all types of people, winning over critics and fans alike, including the titans of game reviews. In a year full of high-profile games, Katamari was the breath of fresh air. A game almost not released in the West, but made it just by the charm of the conference and demo alone. Takahashi once said, "I definitely think Katamari didn't have a chance at being popular or a cult favourite without the music." Going forward, the series hasn't done as much as it could to use the music in new and inventive ways, in line with Takahashi's idea of gaming. You could also argue its sequel, We Love Katamari, was better, expanding on the mechanics and refining, with its music trying to push into new boundaries. But no one could argue that the first game left the bigger impact, especially the soundtrack, in such an iconic way the series could never escape it going forward. That music is important to people. It goes to show the potential power of video game music. Having the right tracks in the smallest games can lead to the biggest stars. Oh yeah, now I'm supposed to say something about Patreons. Yeah, I have a Patreon, it's cool. If you want to support the work I do, use the Patreon. Maybe I could do this full time, that'd be great. Working a job sucks, don't like it. Big thanks to Cole Davies and Fernando Diaz. As always, you make this a lot easier to do. Najubus should be on the way soon enough. Probably have a video out for Christmas too. And if you like Katamari, pick up the new HD release. I'm sure it'll be great. I'm definitely playing it right now in this moment when I'm recording this. One of the coolest things I found when I was doing research for this project is something called Boss Fight Books. They're these little novellas that document the history of certain video games, as well as interviewing the people that made them, talking about their impact and cultural stuff or personal reflections on the games. They're a great read, they have plenty of them. Definitely check it out. So yeah, everyone have a really nice day and roll up someone into your life and have a great time. Katamari forever.